Thank you, Bill Choir. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Framingham. We are a welcoming congregation, so whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We welcome you here in the meeting house, or on Zoom, or whenever you may be watching this service in the future. I'm Rupal Bhatt. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Be sure to read the announcements in the order of service. Immediately following worship, you're invited to join us for coffee hour in Scott Hall, just across the courtyard. I also know that this morning was the fourth morning of a 4-week experiment in family worship, which was held at 10 o'clock. This evening, First Parish will be hosting the Framingham Interfaith Community Association's Interfaith Thanksgiving service. Please take a moment to also turn your phones or other devices to their quietest settings. While beeps and buzzes can be distracting, we welcome your human noises, especially the sound of your singing, so please join in. Since 1701, people have gathered as this community to rest or recharge, to be challenged or affirmed. Those people are like you. You belong here, maybe only for the next hour, but we hope for longer. We are happy to have you with us. I now invite you to take a deepening breath in and out. Continue to take a few more breaths and to begin to release whatever you need to let go of, to be more fully present to yourself, one another, and the sacred in this time and place. Flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition to symbolize the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. It is our tradition to begin our worship by kindling the flame of our chalice. The words for our chalice lighting were written by Kristen Grassel Schmidt. Spirit of life, we give thanks for the fruits of the season, for the labor of all those who harvest them, and for the abundant and generous earth. May the power that brings forth good things from dirt and the spirit that grows each time we give and receive be in us and with us today and all this Thanksgiving week. With gratitude for the gifts of life, come, let us worship together. Today we're going to do hymn 349 first. It's different from what's actually written in the printed order of the service. So please rise in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn 349, We Gather Together. Please remain standing to sing our song of affirmation and remain standing for our spoken affirmation.
To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
This is the time in our service that we share the things which weigh deepest on our hearts, our milestones and happy and sad occasions. We share them because joy shared is joy expanded, and sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting a burden. You can submit your joys or sorrows either online or by writing them down in the book that is normally at the back of our sanctuary. We sing from the hymn Comfort Me, so that our joys and sorrows can be held in song, but so that you also might have a song in your back pocket to pull out when you need it the most. I begin with the sorrows of our gathered community. Share this from the Walton family. On November 10th, Beth Walton had surgery to replace a heart valve at Brigham and Women's Hospital. There were some complications which led to a much more invasive heart bypass. Back on the 15th, she was in the ICU. She has now since moved out of the ICU. Beth and Jen are thankful for their faith community, and they feel our love. I believe at this moment, no visitors, however, cards are very appreciated and can be sent to their home. Share this concern from David Doucette, who writes, Colleen Kerrigan, wife of Marlborough City Clerk Steve Kerrigan, recently passed away. Please keep her family in your prayers. Vicki Carrion shares this concern, thinking of all of us who are facing the holidays without their loved ones, sending hope, peace, and love. I also light a candle for the 85 families that were served yesterday at the food pantry, 8 new families. Let us now sing the first verse of Comfort Me. The lyric is Comfort Me. My goodness, we are a joyful people. There are so many joys to share. Some may be abbreviated because they are speaking of a similar joy, but not this one. David Doucette writes, this joy today, I'm cooking a Nova Scotian dinner called Rappy Pie. He invites us to Google it after my son-in-law chose that over a beef tenderloin roast. My ancestors would be happy. Carol Boyce shares this joy. Very pleased to report our nephew's back surgery was a success, and he now has relief from extreme pain. Maria Rodriguez and Bruce Ishikawa share 2 joys. The first, our son traveled to the United Kingdom where he'll be spending Thanksgiving with our daughter. The second is that we are traveling to Seattle where all of Bruce's siblings will be gathered to celebrate Thanksgiving. This joy of and one of Thanksgiving from Dean Arvidsson. Thanks to all who helped with last night's open mic night. We had a great time. Marianne Orlando writes, this joy, last night's open mic night was a blast. Such a range of talent. Kudos to Reverend Aaron for his jokes. Thank you, thank you. And Dean was also awesome. And this from Tom Greeley, a joy. The first ever performance I played was with my mom in Scott Hall when I was 8 years old. Last night I had the honor of playing at the open mic night with Dean Arvidsson. I'm in awe of his talent. A lot of people sang last night, so let us sing the next verse, Sing with Me. Sing with me. So now I invite you to turn your attention to your breath once again, to notice that which is supporting you, a chair, a pew, a bed, or the strength of this community. In the hustle and bustle of this day, instead of meditating on various things, we will simply sit for 1 minute of quiet in this house made holy by our presence here. We'll begin and end our time with the sound of a chime.
Transgender Day of Remembrance is an annual observance on November 20th, which is tomorrow, that honors the memory of transgender people whose lives were taken, whose lives were lost in acts of hate and anti-transgender violence. The prayer I'm going to share with you today is a Transgender Day of Remembrance prayer by our own Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve. This is a prayer for the lost ones, those taken from us too soon and too many. The truth be told, one would be too many. One life taken is one too many to be dead. This is a prayer for those whose lives were taken in violence, for who they were and how they loved. This is a prayer for their families, who will never know all of who they were to become, nor never again feel their warm embrace. Those who are no longer with us were people. They were our siblings and parents, our children, co-workers, and lovers. This is a prayer for the lost ones, beautiful human beings who once occupied this earth with beauty, humor, anger, frustration, and fear, and who are no longer with us. This is a prayer for those who are now our ancestors. We pray you continue to guide us towards making a more just, more loving, more accepting world. This is a prayer for the survivors of hate crimes and hate, for those who live in fear and cannot flourish as they are. This is a prayer for the survivors whose lives have been impacted by violence and hate. May we remember the legacy from which we come and the legacy we will leave behind. May we continue to build families of choice and protection for our souls as well as our bodies, trusting that we were always meant to be here and knowing that we are loved just as we are.
As we prepare to take this morning's offering, may each of us look not just in our wallets or our checkbooks, but to see how much we have with us. Let us look into our hearts as well and see what is available there. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope. And let us take our offering from that account If this is your first time joining us, you are invited to let the offering pass you by.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
Today, as you look at the order of service, we have 3 different poems and some brief reflections from me. These are all sorts of different perspectives on gratitude. After each one of the readings, we will sit for a little bit of quiet. Don't worry, we didn't forget where we are. We're giving you time to listen and process and notice what is happening in these poems.
When the doctor suggested surgery and a brace for all my youngest years, my parents scrambled to take me to massage therapy, deep tissue work, osteopathy, and soon my crooked spine unspooled a bit. I could breathe again and move more in a body unclouded by pain. My mom would tell me to sing songs to her the whole 45-minute drive to Middle 2 Rock Road and 45 minutes back from physical therapy. She'd say even my voice sounded unfettered by my spine afterward. So I sang and sang because I thought she liked it. I never asked her what she gave up to drive me or how her day was before this chore. Today, at her age, I was driving myself home from yet another spine appointment, singing along to some maudlin but solid song on the radio. And I saw a mom take her raincoat off and give it to her young daughter when a storm took over the afternoon. My God, I thought, my whole life I've been under her raincoat, thinking it was somehow a marvel that I never got wet.
What first caught my ear and eye about this poem is appreciation for the metaphor of the raincoat. Indeed, in the poem, Ada Limon never talks about her mother directly giving her a raincoat. It is instead about the rides her mom gave. It speaks to all of the ways that Limon benefited from the tender care of her mother. Never gave up, never asked her what she gave up to drive me. When I think about what I am grateful for, especially with my parents, think about all of the rides my parents gave me. Parents, when they realize they cannot provide all the learning experiences for their children, sure do provide a lot of rides for their kids. Sure, if you had children, some of you felt like chauffeurs for your kids at some point. For me, Scouts, school, and church were the places that came to mind for me. 7th grade, my parents and I made the decision to enroll me in a charter school in a neighboring town instead of continuing to send me to the public schools in the town that I grew up in. I may have different feelings about this now as a good supporter of public education, but that school has sent out 4 Unitarian Universalist ministers into the world, and I benefited greatly from that gritty school experience that always seemed strapped for cash, where the teachers knew who I was. I thrived in that new academic setting. Academically, I acknowledge I probably would have thrived anywhere, but socially was another story. I feel that I came out of my shell there. As I said, it was a few towns over, so my parents needed to drive me. That place, those teachers, those students made me who I am. The projects too, every assignment was a project that taught me how to dive deep, to focus my interests. I learned how to engage with my passions there. And it wouldn't have been possible if my parents didn't sacrifice some of their time. I never asked them what they gave up. I'm also grateful that they gave me rides to church, sometimes twice a Sunday. As some of you know, my teenage rebellion was to start going to church instead of stopping going to church. I wasn't in possession of a license, so they had to drive me, and we would go to Sunday services at 10 o'clock and also youth group later that evening. Sunday mornings taught me what it meant to be a Unitarian Universalist, what various world religions taught. It also exposed me to our hymns, which are really just our theology put to song. Sunday evenings taught me how to be human, how to be grounded, and how to give back to the community. That church empowered youth to take an active part in the congregation. I was on the membership committee just a month after I joined the church. I was a worship associate. I preached a few times, not even in the context of youth Sunday services, but as a solo preacher. I also think about all of the rides that my father gave me to scout meetings. At first, once a month when I was a Cub Scout, pack meetings where we would always stop at Subway for a sandwich beforehand on Friday nights, den meetings on Saturday afternoon, and then troop meetings later on Tuesday nights. Of course, my dad would almost always stick around with me. He was Cub Master and then Scout Master. In scouting, I learned about the consequences of planning and the consequences of not planning, how groups morph and form over time. I learned independence, how to carry what I needed on my back. And that's also a lesson in interdependence. You carry a part of your buddy's tent or the food or a pot or part of the stove, which fits in with what the rest of the group is carrying. So like Limon, I give thanks for the rides my parents gave, without complaint, mostly, to get me to places where I learned what they could not have taught me. Now we will hear from the poem that is last week's order of service. How rarely I have stopped to thank the steady effort, by Jane Hirschfield. A person speaking pauses, lets in what little silence, portion with the words. It is like an hour, any hour, this one. Something happens, much does not, or as always, everything happens. The standing walls keep standing with their whole attention. A noisy crow call lowers and lifts its branch. The crow scent enters the leaves, enters the bark like stirred in honey gone into tea. How rarely have I stopped to thank the steady effort of the world to stay the world, to think and to thank, rather, the furnish of green and abandon of yellow, the ancient Sumerians called the beloved honey, as we do. Said also, borrowed bread is not returned. Like them, we pay love's tax to bees. We go on arranging the old notes in different order. Desire inside A, C, A, G, G, A, T. Forgiveness in G, T, A, C, T, T. In a space of world and time, arrangement matters. An hour has no front or back, except to those whose eyes face forward, whose tears blur thought and stars. 5 genes in a certain arrangement will spend this life unrooted, grazing. It has to do with how the animal body comes into being, the same whether ant or camel. When that does such unfolded code understand, if it finds in its mouth the word important, the thing that can be carried or the thing that cannot be carried, or the way they keep trading places. Grief and gladness, the comic, the glum, the dead, and the living. Last night, the big Sumerian moon clambered into the house empty-handed and left empty-handed. Not thief, not lover, not tortoise, just looking around, shuffling its soft blind slippers over the floor. This felt to me important, and so I looked back with both hands open, palms unblinking. What caused the fire, we ask, meaning lightning, wiring, matches. How precisely and unbidden oxygen slips itself into between those thick words. how rarely I have stopped to thank the steady effort of the world to stay the world. When we ask younger children what they are thankful for, the list, at least from what I remember from my younger days, usually began with people. Usually, because I knew how to play the room in those days, it would start with the people that were around the table, right? And sometimes it would stop with that list as well. Indeed, if you're going to engage in some gratitude practice around a Thanksgiving table this week, I will guess that you will likely start with people. Maybe the people around your table, and then maybe move on to the folks that you are grateful for who are not around your table, but that you miss with all your heart. Is there a difference between being thankful and being grateful? Thankfulness is a conscious effort you engage in after you receive something. Gratitude is larger. The sum of smaller acts that you are thankful for, more an emotion of thankfulness than an act, a state of being. I see no trouble writing a thank you note to someone, but perhaps because I do not have a mailing address for the trees and the birds cannot read, I cannot thank them. I do not know where to send a thank you note for a concept. The flowers have no street address. Feels strange saying thank you to the non-human things in my life, but perhaps I feel gratitude for them, which is simply too bad. Am I more apt to forget them or take them for granted if they are not thanked? I do not know. And yet in this month where we are exploring resilience in our services, gratitude seems to be the right thing to increase resilience, our ability to bounce back our love reserves, that which we draw on when things are not going as we hoped they would. Why is gratitude a part of our resilience toolkits? You're quite literally listing the things that are positive forces in your life, the things which give you a reason to wake up, which are the reason you wake up, and then give you the strength to go throughout the day. Grace has to do a little bit with gratitude. But what does that mean? What does grace mean? In a traditional view, grace is defined as God's favor towards the unworthy. We sing of it in Amazing Grace. I think when I speak of it in the time, I mention it actually in the time for contemplation, when I say that I give thanks for the things that we might have taken for granted, the sheltering walls, the food in our bellies, the people sitting to our left and our right. Sean Gauthier, a Canadian Unitarian minister, describes it this way. He says, grace is the gifts that come to us unmerited, the many kindnesses that fall into our lives without our earning them or having necessarily done anything to deserve them. Grace does not require a divine being in my definition, he writes, but it does demand a certain humility, a recognition that we benefit from far more than we have coming to us out of our own efforts. Grace is knowing that there are gifts that bless our lives that we could never possibly buy. And it is knowing that we bear a debt of gratitude that cannot in any way ever be repaid. How rarely I have stopped to thank the steady effort of the world to stay the world. Now we will hear a recording of our next piece, Howard Thurman's Thanksgiving Prayer, delivered by Howard Thurman from a radio program that he had on WGBH. It was, a fantastic recording of it.
Today I make my sacrament of thanksgiving. I begin with the simple things of my days. fresh air to breathe, cold water to drink, the taste of food, the protection of houses and clothes, the comforts of home. For all these I make an act of thanksgiving this day. I bring to mind all the warmth of humankind that I have known, my mother's arms, the strength of my father, the playmates of my childhood, the wonderful stories brought to me from the lives of many who talked of days gone by when fairies and giants and all kinds of magic held sway. The tears I have shed, the tears I have seen, the excitement of laughter and the twinkle in the eye with its reminder that life is good. For all these I make an act of thanksgiving this day. I finger one by one the messages of hope that awaited me at the crossroads. The smile of approval from those who held in their hands the reins of my security. The tightening of the grip in a simple handshake when I feared the step before me in the darkness. The whisper in my heart when the temptation was fiercest and the claims of appetite were not to be denied. The crucial words said, the simple sentence from an open page when my decision hung in the balance. For all these I make an act of thanksgiving this day. I pass before me the mainsprings of my heritage, the fruits of the labors of countless generations who lived before me, without whom my own life would have no meaning. The seers who saw visions and dreamed dreams, the prophets who sensed a truth greater than the mind could grasp, and whose words would only find fulfillment in the years which they would never see. The workers whose sweat has watered the trees, the leaves of which are for the healing of the nations. The pilgrims who set their sails for lands beyond all horizons, whose courage made paths into new worlds and far-off places. The saviors whose blood was shed with a recklessness that only a dream could inspire and a God could command. For all this I make an act of thanksgiving this day. I linger over the meaning of my own life and the commitment to which I give the loyalty of my heart and mind. The little purposes in which I have shared with my loves and my desires and my gifts. The restlessness which bottoms all I do with its stark insistence that I have never done my best, I have never dared to reach for the highest. The big hope that never quite deserts me, that I and my kind will steady war no more, that love and tenderness and all the inner graces of almighty affection will cover the life of the children of God as the waters cover the sea. All these and more than mind can think and heart can feel, I make as my sacrament of thanksgiving to Thee, our Father, and humbleness of mind and simplicity of heart.
The big hope that never quite deserts me. I would guess some might call that God, some might call it good, some may call it mystery, some might call it community. Big hope. When I hear those words, when I read those words, I think of the warmth of a hug, the cozy home, the cozy hope, something that you can rest in. It reminds me of that song, There is a love holding all that I love. I rest in that love. Or there is more love somewhere There is more hope somewhere, and I'm going to keep on till I find it. Big hope. Like someone that you care about, their arms. The big hope where you feel safe. A big hope, too much hope. Mae West said, too much of a good thing can be wonderful. But hope perhaps too in the sense of what Miguel de la Torre means, anticipation of good or evil, good or bad, wanting and waiting. That big hope of what may come next. This is a thing that Howard Thurman is thankful for. Imagine riding atop a roller coaster and you're at the top of the tallest hill on the track and you are ready to just let gravity take control. Let it all happen. There is more. It holds us. I like that part, the never quite deserts me as well. A good reminder, something that sits in the back of your car, in the trunk of your car, your emergency kit under the stairs or by the door, your go bag. Think of it too like the pet who does need you to take care of it, but is mostly content to just lie in the sunbeam. I've had cats like that. Also too never quite deserts me. Like someone running alongside a child who is just learning how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. Running to catch you if you should wobble, though chances are good you might get hurt anyways. The big hope that never quite deserts me. Now my mind, as I hear that phrase, wants to auto-complete it to the big hope that never quite lets me go. It's good too, I think. Think of it too like our community. You know that it is here to dip into its power, its strength, its history. The volume of its love gets louder or softer, depending on whether you need it more or less. That you can tap into when you need it, and that you can rest assured is being used to care for others when they need it, perhaps when you don't need it. That's the wondrous thing about community. There is a wide topography of it. All of it is needed, but at various levels. The big hope that never quite deserts me. Beautiful, there, ready, willing to be tapped into when we need it the most. May it be so, and amen. Let us now rise in body or spirit to sing our final hymn. It's number 347. big hope that never quite deserts me. You know how rarely I have stopped to thank the steady effort of the world, to stay the world. My whole life I've been under a raincoat, thinking it was somehow a marvel I never got wet. Let me live in a state of gratitude, thanking the people around me, and do not let me forget as well to thank the flowers. May it be so, and amen.